Welcome to Sydney Motorsport Park, and the action just gets hotter and hotter. Formula Ford's vacating the track after an incredible race as we get set for more open-wheeler action. My name is Jared McLean, joined here by Dan McCarthy. It is lights out, or rather lights ablaze, here at the Sydney Sundown round for the Hi-Tech Oil Super Series.
It certainly is. Good field here of Australian Formula V machines as they head down into the hairpin on this warm-up lap. It's been so good, this racing, all weekend long. It's been 5 cars that have been in the fight every single race, and it's basically throw up a deck of cards and pick which card is going to land first. That's basically how these races have been determined. It has been that frantic.
Yeah, Daniel Reynolds has been essentially the best for the longest period of time. I mean, we've seen flashes of brilliance from the likes of McDonald, Kinsella, but Reynolds, he's always there. He might not be right at the top, but he's there to pick up the crumbs if anyone gives him even the slightest sniff.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely right. The weekend started with a victory for McDonald, but since then, it's been all Daniel Reynolds. He'll start from pole alongside Kinsella. Beyond that, we got Spark, McDonald and Porter. Look out for them in this front battle. Beyond that, Stephen Butcher has been best of the rest alongside him. Ryan Slott, William Pimp, Morgan Fremantle and Matthew Harriott.
Back to 11th position for Bondi partners Xavier Babbage-Hock, Caleb Brown in 12th, Greg Johnson in 13th with Matthew Barlick and Ogden rounding out your 13-car field. As we get set, the man on the top of the points in the number 78 machine, Daniel Reynolds. He has been the one to watch. Kinsella has had moments of brilliance. He's starting from the second row. Sorry, my apologies, I get that one wrong. I'm having a look back now through as we see starting from second place on that front row. As we get set, a standing start, and these things are not blessed with the most high-tech of rubber.
No, certainly not. They're quite hard to get off the line. You can really bog a Formula V down if you don't get your revs right. So they are quite hard to start, despite what you may think. You can hear down there, sounds to me like the revs are rising. We're set for a start and they are underway. Great initial launch by both on the racing lines. That's Kinsella, but particularly McDonald, who's already moved up into 3rd position, and Kinsella as well with that initial launch. That's carried in the momentum through into the lead.
That would have been about the easiest position pickup that Kinsella is going to have all race long. The rest of them he's going to have to fight for as it's 3 wide on the run into turn 2. Up out of 4th place, Spark shows a wheel.
Yeah, Spark was in deep there. I think he was more trying to get out of an accident as he jinked to the inside with the car squirreling about all over the place. He managed to get it stopped though, and he has come out in 4th position with his front nose intact.
Kinsella leads this race, race number 5 for the Formula Vs, with just over 15 minutes on our Ringers Western totem pole. He came through in 2nd place last time out in the daylight hours. As we check him out on that run downhill, Reynolds in 2nd, McDonald 3rd, Spark holds down 4th with Porter, your number 5 driver.
We should say this is a round of the Australian Formula V Championship, and they've come far and wide to take part in the event this weekend. We've got obviously the local New South Wales drivers, but we've got Queenslanders, drivers from Canberra, drivers from South Australia as well. So it is very much, as the name would suggest, a national series.
At the moment, we are looking at 3 2-car battles happening up the front. We saw the finish of race 4 with a 5-car battle pack. Who knows, maybe we'll throw in the 6th spot Butcher to make this a 6-car affair. As we get some pressure here from Spark in 4th, looking to make a move on McDonald, who runs wide on that exit, covers off any avenue of attack on the outside. Reynolds looks to be making a move on the run down to the start-finish line.
Here they come. They buzz across the line, neck and neck across the line. Let's not forget the race earlier on today, the victory margin, if you didn't catch it on the live stream, 1,000th of a second. Oh, that's close. That's even closer than 1,000th of a second. They make contact down there, and he still braves it around the outside to Spark. Not deterred by that huge moment on the run towards the corner. He kept his foot in, kept it planted, and made the move.
Daniel Reynolds still out in front after going purple there for that first sector. Of course, the quickest of our drivers leading us out for that first lap. We're into the hot laps now as we check out the action here. It was, well, there was no more real room for him to use. He was half out onto the curb, but in this instance, even in Formula V, rubbing just became racing.
Kinsella just had a nose alongside Reynolds as well, so he couldn't slot in and move left either. That was just, the cars simply weren't quite thin enough to fit 3 cars wide. Although it didn't really look 3 cars wide, there was just a bit of overlap between each of those cars. And we could see those top 5 pulling away. Butcher's trying to go with them in the number 13 machine, the Team Stinger car. Team Stinger because it's the Stinger chassis that he is driving in, but unfortunately at this point in time, as we've seen all weekend long, they've just been able to edge away.
You can see that 5-car battle pack starting to move off and leave Butcher in the dust. It was a fine fantasy while it was nice and tight at the start of the race, but unfortunately Reynolds, Spark, Kinsella, first, second, third, McDonald and Porter just too hot to handle. The run down to the finish line, a move across to the inside for Spark. They'll do this pretty much every single lap, and it just never gets old, Dan.
No, it certainly does not. The margin over the line that time, a huge 0.006 of a second compared to what we saw earlier on today. But here they go, 2 by 2, Noah's Ark style, into turn number 2. Who's going to yield? They all file in line pretty politely there, actually. And at the moment, Porter's just about keeping tabs with them. But his last lap through, they all set PB laps, everybody in the entire field last time by. Of course, the first flying lap, that one. So if I look at the lap times, yeah, Porter he's just gaining, coming back into the fight. So he was dropped back at the start of last lap, but yeah, he's coming back once again.
We can see, obviously, the effect of the toe on that run down to the start-finish line, but it really does become apparent that there are certain instances where drivers will work together to try and put down a breakaway, almost like cycling. Work together, don't take big chunks out of each other, and just get that pace down. I mean, we know these 5 are miles ahead of the rest of the field, but I'm looking to see if maybe Spark and Reynolds can broker an on-track agreement and just try and put the pace up to the next notch.
I suggested that earlier in the weekend. You laughed at me. You said they're not going to work together.
I've come around to the idea because the power of that toe is it is so powerful.
I've certainly seen them work with each other on occasion. You'll see a bit of waving, and yeah, big moment for Spark as you're gesturing in the commentary box at just how sideways that got.
Well, this is how good Formula V has been. Ordinarily, we have some very comfy chairs here in the commentary. We're both on our feet as the racing is just immaculate. A move around the outside on the run into turn 1. Has Reynolds got what it takes to tread all the way out? As it looks like McDonald comes around the outside. They go 3 wide through the fastest part of the track. McDonald had 184 kilometres through the trap and will briefly hold down first place.
It's so dirty out there. You can see him sliding through the corner, trying to hold on and take the positions. He held on to it, and he has, as a result, yielded a second place position. And he's got a nice run out of turn 3 as well. So up the inside, down the hill into 4, thinks better of it, hops back in behind.
What we have seen is Reynolds is well and truly capable of parking the nose cone of that number 78 machine under the gearbox of the car in front, as we see McDonald go super wide on that left-hander. Uses up all of the apron. And I just wonder if McDonald's got what it takes to hang with Spark, or if Spark's going to make this breakaway.
Yeah, he's certainly trying, isn't he? He's like in the cycling, trying to get a bit of a breakaway and leave the peloton for dead, but he's not able to do so at this point. He's got a bit of a margin, though, certainly the biggest we've seen in this race so far. There's a lock up there, and McDonald ran wide. Very, very wide, in fact, at turn number 8. Enough so to leave the gap for Reynolds to just slide up the inside into the kink that is turn 9. Hard to go too wide through there because of the change of direction that is turns 10 and 11.
Here they come through this left-hander onto the highest point of the track. The run down the start-finish straight is it looks like it goes for miles and miles to the horizon. The gap between Spark and Reynolds currently a half a second as they barrel into turn one at 175 kilometres an hour. McDonald, he's got pace. He's trapping at over 180 Ks in top gear in this Formula V, as our top 5 are right back in the mix. Throw a handkerchief over them.
I think you need something smaller than a handkerchief. It's that close on the circuit at the moment. Spark was a retirement in race number 2. Recovered earlier on, race 2 and race 3, and recovered earlier on today in race 4 from the back of the field to finish very nicely inside that top 5. That race is all about getting himself back in the fight, and he did so, and now he's more than taking it to them. He's leading this race, and I think he's the first person to lead an entire lap without being overtaken so far in this race.
Well, it's great to see that number 47 out as Reynolds dropped into that 2 spot. And Reynolds holds the points lead for the event and is looking good. I mean, at what point does he decide to just hold on? We have 7.5 minutes left. At what point do you go, let's not push it, let's just save everything, let's not wreck in the last half of the race and collect those valuable points?
Yeah, it's an interesting point you raise. A lot of racing drivers just going better off attacking and doing what I normally do rather than conserving. But we do see when championships come to that sort of climax late on in the season that those sort of thoughts come into their heads. But at this point in the season, we're only in May, I'm sure it'll be an all-out attack. You can just see the victory just a couple of tenths down the road. Yeah, a round win's great, but the chances of taking another race victory are more alluring.
Having a look back in the field, this looks like the battle for 7th, 8th and 9th between Pym, Stott and Fremantle. As we come back to our race leaders, Reynolds under fire, 3 wide for a moment there. It's Reynolds and Spark again. Door to door if they had doors. Wheel to wheel is more fitting.
Yes, I think so. In these open wheel Formula V machines, one of 3 national open wheel categories. We've already seen the Formula Ford series, and up in the not too distant future as well, we have the Hankook Australian Drivers' Championship in the Aussie-made Hyper Racer X1 machines. But look at this, further back down the pack, up the inside there, having a bit of a move. But look at this is 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. Nose to tail on the racetrack.
I have to say, I am a Formula V convert. I think especially when you put them on a course like Sydney Motorsport Park, 4 kilometres of fast flowing changeable surfaces with good runoff in certain areas, and just a variety of lines and opportunities. This really has played to these small horsepower open wheelers. We've seen an incredible amount of respect between all of these racers when it comes to actually picking their piece of real estate, giving adequate racing room. They've done a great job.
Absolutely. I've come to know that from commentating a lot of Formula V action over the years, both in Victoria and in South Australia over the last few years, and I've become pretty accustomed to it. I sort of take it for granted when I see them separated by a couple of thousandths and running 4 wide into corners. I'm used to seeing it, but for somebody like you to step in and call V's for the very first time, it's thrilling, isn't it?
Here we go, the run into turn 1, a big lunge there from McDonald, tries to jump up a place over Kinsella. Kinsella fights back. McDonald still looking to try and get that move done, as there's contact between Kinsella and McDonald. Reynolds and Spark are having their own battle out the front on the run into turn 2. Reynolds gets out on top with that one, as it looks like Kinsella and McDonald have managed to settle down just for a moment there with no further injury.
A moment is exactly what it is going to be as they head down the hill. So at the moment, it's the 4-time champ Reynolds leading the way ahead of Spark. Kinsella, another 4-time champion, in 3rd. And then we got McDonald and Porter. So the top 5, as we've seen all weekend long, are 10 seconds down the road from the rest of the pack, but you can't separate them, can you? As they go through the 90-degree left-hander that is turn number 6 and over the crest, as they'd call it in rallying, into the fast sweeper turn number 7, and they're coming up across lapped traffic. That's the number 32 machine of Johnston, who sees them coming. Brilliant heads-up driving.
There's a part of me that was wondering if he was going to get into the mix and we were going to see a massive lunge from Porter or McDonald up for P1, but great eyes there from Johnston. He managed to get that thing out onto the apron and avoid any disaster.
We started the weekend with a few 1200cc class cars. However, I note that Matthew Bialek, the South Australian who I've called a lot over the last 12 months, he's not out there in this one. So effectively, Johnston has already wrapped up the 1200cc class honours there as the sole remaining competitor. That means that all the rest are fighting for class and outright position on the circuit. Here comes McDonald. He likes that move, doesn't he, around the outside? And he's trying it once again. Down towards turn 2. How many can he get? I'm not even sure he's going to get one on this occasion. In fact, he's locked up, he's running deep, and all that hard work has just been left in vain. What I would say is because he ran so wide, he probably got a bit of dirt on the tyres, which contributed to the lockup.
Yeah, McDonald, unfortunately, going to have to hold on to, well, looks like 4th now as we check back in with that 4-car pack. Check this one out. They are having the best time out there under lights.
I certainly are, aren't they? It's Pim just at the head of the pack ahead of Stott. And then I believe that's Fremantle in the blue number 44 machine. But again, we're seeing now 2 quintet battles with 5 cars in each, which is really, really cool. We haven't seen that second battle before. Butcher, though, is all by himself. He's 12 seconds behind the leaders and 12 seconds ahead of that other group as well. So he's in a very lonely 6th position. He's a many-time 1200cc champion, is Butcher. He often races these days in 1600cc, and he's doing a really good job here this weekend, as we say, in 6th position in car number 13. Unlucky for some, but reasonably lucky for him so far.
Under 2 minutes left for Spark to bring this home. He's under pressure from Reynolds in 2nd. Kinsella in 3rd. McDonald and Porter round out your top 5 as we go 1.5 minutes remaining. That classic move around the outside there. Reynolds ducks out of the toe. Cuts the nose off of Spark and looking to try and assert dominance there. Essentially shortchange him that inside line. But Spark has some great wheel speed. Looks to go around the outside. Kinsella trying to go there with him as they fan out. We've been given the word this is the final lap. Kinsella surges up, shows a wheel, but Reynolds should just about be able to cover him off. The change of direction now, though, means that we see Kinsella relegated back. Spark into 1st. Reynolds still on the fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. Here comes Reynolds, though. If he can go deep enough, he can take the move around the outside. He can't do. That was tight, particularly a bit further back as well, side by side between Kinsella and Porter. Porter purple in the 1st sector on this final lap. That's because of the huge toe he had on pit straight, 181 k's an hour through the speed trap. That's 10 k's an hour faster than some of the other guys in the group. Oh no, that's one of the front runners from the 2nd pack of cars. That's the 56 of Stott that has found himself out of this race on the last lap. But here comes Kinsella. He's leaving his attack late if he wants to win this, but he's going to try and take a top 3, but washes out with understeer. All right, who's your money on, everyone? Who are you going for here as we have the drag race to the line? Spark is leading the way, but Reynolds is right there, right in behind. And look at Spark sideways, entering the final corner. That's going to cost him crucial momentum as they round the left-hander. Here we go, snaking down the straight. He's trying to break the toe as much as he possibly can, but it's not going to be enough. In fact, here comes McDonald, who's going to try and steal it at the line. Across the line they go, and it is McDonald that takes it. The top 3 separated by less than 0.03 of a second across the line. Wow, from 3rd position out the final corner, McDonald steals it and takes his 2nd race victory of the weekend.
What an incredible finish. I knew that we were going to see some snaking across that start-finish straight, but I wasn't prepared for a move from 3rd to take victory. A brilliant run right at the death knock as the action continues right to the end between Fremantle and Harriet for 9th and 10th outright. McDonald from way downtown snatches victory by 0.015 of a second from Daniel Reynolds. Craig Spark brings it home in 3rd place with Michael Kinsella charging hard for 4th. Curtis Porter rounds out your top 5 with Butcher, Pim, Babbage Hock, Fremantle and Harriet your top 10 races here in Formula V Race 5 at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Talk about catch your breath. Crikey, that was something else, wasn't it? Caleb Brown and rounds out the finishers. Ryan Stott, a late DNF in that one, and same can be said for a couple of the others behind that as well. The sun has very much set. The moon is out here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Great shot there, just showing the lights that we have down here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Here's the highlights.
A great launch from our front row. Reynolds had to drop into second, but it was just on for young and old. I've lost count of how many times that lead changed as we saw early contact there between Kinsella and Spark.
And here was Spark. He led coming out the final corner, didn't he? And he led for a fair portion of that race. But yeah, Spark would have been thinking, I could be on for victory here. Not a moment of not even second. Position number 3 in the end. Incredible. But yet, early on, they were really fighting for sheep stations, but the intensity just kept being turned up a notch, and up a notch, and up a notch again. And we saw some very near contact. You said there was a touch. If there wasn't, there must have been a feather between them. There was absolutely nothing.
And the battles raged even further down pack, but it was all eyes on this 5-car battle. So we saw a big washout there. It was unfortunate later on in the race.
Well, that was our winner, McDonald. With 2 laps to go, he locked up and he was temporarily in 5th position. And at the start of the final lap, he was in 4th position.
We were talking about that high-speed game of chess, and they were playing it from the front to the back, and unfortunately, a bit of an off-track lawn mowing excursion as he hurls the wheel. That was the 56 machine.
He's not happy with how that ended up. Poor stop. But here we are, the run to the line. What an exit out the final corner. 3 wide across the line. Less than half a Formula V between all 3. In the end, the official margin, 15 thousandths of a second. Mel, down to you.
Craig Spark, you were leading there for a while. I thought you were going to get your first win of the weekend, and just pipped at the line.
What can you do? You're not first, you're last, I guess. So it was good racing. Everyone had a really good time, and it was close out the front. And what can you do? You lead to the line and do your best. And
I mean, you did all that weaving and everything you can do, but with a slipstream like that, yeah.
There's not much more you can do. Anyway, hello to baby Isla and Noah at home. They're watching, so hello, babies.
Well done on a great weekend.
Thank you.
David Reynolds, Daniel Reynolds, sorry, what a finish. 3 wide across the line.
Yeah, it obviously, well, I mean, I had a pretty close one the race before, but yeah, 3 across the line side by side, it yeah, must be good to watch.
Oh, it must be fun to do. I mean, the racing's just been incredible, right? You guys are there, 3-4 cars, like every corner, every lap.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic when you've got a good, you know, close group of cars that can fight it out and keep it clean. And, yeah, as I said, the closer the racing, the more fun and exciting it is, I guess.
Absolutely. Very impressive. Well done.
No, thank you very much.
P1, Alex McDonald, what a finish to that race.
That was good. It was close. Coming out of the last corner in 3rd, I wasn't sure of my chances. I was going to be close. So, yeah, good racing. So.
Yeah, did you expect to win that one on the last corner? I bet not.
Coming out of 3rd, I wasn't sure. Maybe if you're in 2nd, yeah, you got a good chance. But, yeah, I mean, as you can see, it was pretty close across the line. I mean, all 5 races this weekend have been pretty close. So it's been great racing.
Yeah, it's been fantastic to watch. Well done to all of you.
Thank you.
Well, that was an eventful race, wasn't it, as they have been all weekend long in the Australian Formula V Championship. The official margin, 13 thousandths of a